a place people can go? Can they go online simply to Single Stop?
Yes, singlestopusa.org.
Singlestopusa.org, and they can read about where the locations are, what the services are all about.
Yeah, and there's testimonies and stories. And
That's
as well.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. So we'll get back and talk about other collaborations. Oscar, when you were talking, it occurred to me that we're talking about businesses and we're talking about small businesses employing most of the people, and we're talking about having a healthy business. And you talked about fringe businesses.
Or fringe financial services.
Yes.
Yes.
And some people might say, well, those are businesses.
True.
And they're offering services.
Yes.
So don't you want all businesses to be empowered and all businesses to get clients?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that in general, we definitely want businesses to have multiple revenue streams and to be sustainable. However, there are certain services, I mentioned check cashing, that we simply feel that there are better alternatives. And there are also, some other, I mentioned, there are pawn shops, there are rent-to-own establishments, and a lot of these check cashers are actually backed by some of the larger corporations. So even though they might look like small storefronts, it might even look like an independent, business owner, they're usually backed up by larger financial institutions. And there are certain small businesses that just are not quite as attractive, I would say, whether they're the local liquor store that might also sell cigarettes. We in general, really promote healthy communities, and our mission is to really increase the entrepreneurial capacities of women and men throughout the Bay Area. But we don't necessarily not necessarily work with certain businesses, but again, we do believe that healthy communities are a reflection of the people and the businesses in them. And again, certain products out there, particularly financial products these days, are bordering on abusive. And again, whether it's rent to own or some of these other services. I mean, buying a $500 chair when you do rent to own can make it cost several times more than the chair is worth. And again, these are the kind of products and services that a lot of our clients, unfortunately, are still utilizing, and we just want to sort of open their eyes to some of the better options out there.
As you talk, it makes me think that there is this saying, buyer beware.
Yes.
And and you had talked about people taking personal initiative, and it seems a primary step or a very important step is for people to educate themselves.
Absolutely.
And maybe comparison shop, so to speak.
Sure.
What do you do in terms of going with people in terms of educating themselves? In what ways can they educate themselves?
Well, definitely giving them the resources, whether it's online, a pamphlet, whatever it is. I think giving them options and not saying, nope, this is the right way, nope, you have to do it that way. And kind of coaching them. Yeah. We talk about counseling versus coaching. Empowering them with education to make those right decisions.
So what's a right decision? In general, are there some guidelines that people can use in terms of making right decisions,
Surely.
in terms of comparison shopping?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think the important thing, as I think you talked about, is just being an informed consumer, talking to friends and family to share best practices, whether, it might be, what do you do to save money, or, what are you doing to stay on top of your bills? There are lots of practices out there, things that a lot of people, unfortunately, are not doing these days, like online bill payments, which you can set up to, to bill automatically, or to pay bills automatically. And I would say that, classes like our Secure Futures program are really fundamental, because again, it's about informing and empowering the consumer with the best options out there. There are lots of studies that look at how difficult it is to change behavior. Humans are creatures of habit. We're used to doing things a certain way. We have our rhythms, we have our routines. Whether it's picking out the same product in the store shelves when we go, buy our groceries, or when we go and look for financial services, we tend to do the same things over and over again. And so what we're really trying to do again is just give people open their eyes to some of the other possibilities out there, whether it is moving away from the check casher and opening an account with a credit union, or moving away from the prepaid debit cards and actually moving to a card that actually has a savings rate. They're out there. And our program is really trying to do what we can to bring those to the consumer.
Yes.
Can I also add, because I know
yes.
you mentioned, you know, the options, the choices that they have, but the networking also, and especially in the workshops you'll be
Yeah.
providing with Secure Futures, that small group, it's going to be powerful. They're going to counsel each other.
Thank you.
And the networking opportunities, the conversations that are going to come out of it, it's just going to be amazing what's
Exactly.
going to happen out of
And
those
that's the
workshops.
truth. In the Secure Futures program, it is really a collaborative approach. So it's rather than us talking to the participants saying this is the way you should do things, it's more like, well, okay, what are you doing now? And when we actually do expect to learn quite a bit from the participants, because
Yeah.
you know we as practitioners might have a pretty good idea of what our clients are going through, but it's their reality, and all we can do is again is show them the possibilities, and ultimately they're going to make the best decision for themselves.
Now,